In the midst of all the unnecessary clutter, I felt like I was living in a storage room, not in my own home. It was those moments that made me wonder, am I really living with too much stuff and not even realizing it? I'm sure you felt that way too, right? So I decided I couldn't let this continue. I took it upon myself to declutter and set a challenge to get rid of 50 unnecessary items in 2026. And I want to share that journey with you, from the seemingly harmless items that take up so much space to the things I've held on to just because I felt guilty about letting them go. If you're also looking for ways to live more simply without being overwhelmed by stuff, then today's video is for you. Let's get started. Okay, so let's dive into the first group. I tackled clothes and accessories. Honestly, this one was long overdue. I opened my closet and it was like a horror show of things I hadn't worn in years, and let's be real, they were just sitting there taking up space. First thing I grabbed was this old summer jacket. I used to wear it all the time, but I realized it's been hanging there for, well, way too long. And now it doesn't even fit. It's like, why am I holding on to this? So off it went. Then I found my old sneakers. These were the ones I used to wear non-stop, but let's face it, they're not in any condition to wear now. And honestly, I haven't worn them in ages. They were just taking up space in the corner, so I gave them a final farewell. Next up, I pulled out this shirt that I used to love, but I tried it on and, well, it's a little tight now. Okay, I think it's safe to say I'm never going to wear it again. So I let it go. No more holding on to clothes that just make me feel bad. Then came my old belt. You know, the one that's kind of falling apart, but for some reason you're like, I might wear it one day. Yeah, that one. I hadn't worn it in forever, so it had to go too. And then there was my purse. I don't know why I was still holding on to it. It was trendy back in the day, but now, not so much. It was taking up space in my closet, and every time I looked at it, I thought, what am I even doing? So that went into the donate pile. I also came across a couple of bath towels. These towels were looking a little sad. You know, the ones that have been washed a million times, faded, and starting to feel like sandpaper. Yeah, those. Time to replace them. And of course I found a pair of heels that I used to wear all the time, but now they're just uncomfortable. Like, why did I ever think it was a good idea to wear shoes that feel like torture? So those went into the pile too. Lastly, I found this old wallet that doesn't even close properly anymore. I've been holding on to it for no reason other than, well, maybe I thought it'd magically start working again. Spoiler alert, it didn't. When I finished going through everything, I realized I had gotten rid of 8 things, and it felt so good. Seriously, just seeing the pile of stuff I no longer need made me feel so much lighter. If you're feeling overwhelmed by clutter, take a moment to go through your closet, grab those things you're holding on to for no reason, and let them go. I promise it's worth it. And speaking of cleaning out spaces, in the next video, I'll be doing a mental reset. Yes, we're tackling more than just physical clutter. I'll also be organizing my pantry, cleaning out bathroom drawers, and sharing some super easy dinner ideas to make life a little smoother. Trust me, you won't want to miss it, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. And now let's get back to the decluttering. We've tackled clothes and accessories, but there's still so much more to go through today. Let's dive right into the next category. Okay, so the next group I dove into was home goods and furniture, and let me tell you, this one was a bit eye-opening. You know how you just keep things around because you might need them one day? Yeah, that was me. But after looking around, I realized I was holding on to so much stuff that wasn't really serving any purpose. I started with this old coffee table that's been in my living room for, I don't know, forever. It was too big for the space, and it's just been taking up room. I finally asked myself, why am I still keeping this? And realized it was time to let it go. Honestly, it felt like a huge weight was lifted. I had this new sense of freedom just from getting rid of that one piece. Then I moved on to these old desk lamps. One of them was broken and the other was so dim it barely lit anything up. I kept them around for no reason other than I thought, oh, maybe I'll fix them someday. But let's be real, I'm not a lamp repair expert. So out they went. It was kind of funny, honestly, how much space I freed up just by saying goodbye to those. Next, I found my old camera. I used to be really into photography, but I haven't touched that thing in years. It was just sitting in a drawer collecting dust, and it probably doesn't even work anymore. Why keep it? If I'm not using it, it's just another thing taking up space. Then I opened my kitchen cabinets and came across some chipped dinnerware. There were these plates that were scratched and had tiny cracks. I kept telling myself I'd use them for special occasions, but we all know that never happens. They were just taking up space and making my cabinets look cluttered. So I finally let them go. No more pretending that I'd ever use them again. And speaking of clutter, I found about 12 mugs just hanging out in my kitchen. Seriously, who needs that many mugs for 2 people? I don't even drink coffee that much, so why was I keeping them? I got rid of the ones I never used, and honestly, it made the kitchen feel a lot less crowded. Finally, I had this tiny cabinet that was supposed to be for extra storage. But let me tell you, it barely fit anything. It was just one of those things I kept around because I thought it might be useful, but it wasn't. I had to admit it was just taking up space. So that one went out the door too. After all of that, I felt like I had made such a dent in the clutter. I was surprised at how much lighter the space felt. It's amazing how things you don't use can really start to weigh on you physically and mentally. So if you've got old furniture or unused items taking up space, maybe it's time to let them go too. Trust me, you'll feel so much better when you do. Okay, next up, tech stuff. If you're anything like me, you probably have a drawer or a box somewhere filled with old cables, chargers, and gadgets that you just don't use anymore. And I'll admit this one was hard for me, because I kept telling myself, I might need that someday. But let's face it, I never did. So the first thing I found was this old phone charging cable. It's been sitting in my drawer forever, and honestly, I don't even have a phone that uses that type of cable anymore. I kept it around just in case, but let's be real, if I haven't used it in a year, I'm definitely not going to. Gone. Next, I pulled out this phone case that was cracked all over the place. I used to love it, but now it's so damaged that it doesn't even fit properly anymore. Why am I holding on to this? It's just cluttering up the place, so I tossed it. Then there were my old headphones. You know, the ones that don't work well anymore. They used to be decent, but now one earbud cuts out and the sound is all wonky. I tried to fix them a few times, but no luck. So I finally accepted that it was time to let them go. They were taking up space and just not doing their job. I also found this old computer monitor that's just been gathering dust in the corner. It's been sitting there for so long that I almost forgot I had it. And let's be honest, I haven't used it in ages, so I definitely didn't need it taking up space anymore. Lastly, I came across a bunch of empty electronics boxes. You know, the ones you keep just in case you need to return something or sell it. But here's the thing, I've never needed them. It was time to let go of the packaging. It was honestly kind of freeing to get rid of all this stuff. It felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders, and now I've got more space and less clutter. If you've got cables or old gadgets hanging around, seriously, let them go. You don't need them. All right, let's talk about books and documents. This is one area where I tend to accumulate a lot of stuff without realizing it. First, I started with books. I've always been a book lover, so I had a ton of novels and nonfiction books that I kept for sentimental reasons. But when I looked at them, I realized I hadn't opened most of them in years. Some of them I wasn't even interested in anymore. So I made the tough decision to say goodbye to the ones I knew I wouldn't read again. It was hard at first, but now I've got so much more space on my shelves, and honestly, I feel lighter. Then came the old receipts. Why do we all keep receipts for things we bought months ago that we can't even remember? I found a huge pile of receipts. Some of them were for items I've long since used up or returned, and others were expired coupons. All of them were just taking up space in a drawer, so I tossed them. It felt so good to clear out that mess. Next, I tackled expired insurance papers. I had a stack of old documents that were for policies that had expired years ago. I kept them because I thought I might need them one day, but let's be honest, I didn't. So out they went. I also found some old textbooks that I kept from college. Some were useful at the time, but now they're just taking up shelf space. I haven't looked at them in years, and they definitely weren't adding any value to my life. Time to let those go. Finally, there were all these class notes and old lecture slides I saved from courses I took ages ago. I hadn't looked at them since I graduated, and I honestly wasn't going to. I kept thinking I might need them for some random reason, but they were just collecting dust. After going through all of this, I felt so much lighter. If you've got stacks of old receipts, textbooks, or expired documents lying around, it's time to clear them out. Next up, I tackled office supplies. If you're anything like me, you probably have drawers and cabinets filled with random office supplies you never use, but for some reason you keep holding on to them. So I started with pens. There were so many, but most of them were dried out or just didn't write anymore. You know the ones you pick them up, try to use them, and they're totally useless. So I went through, tested every one, and if it didn't work, it went straight into the trash. Why keep pens that don't even write right? Then I found all these old notebooks and planners that I never use. Some of them I had started using years ago but never finished. Others were just random, half-used notebooks from old projects. I knew I wasn't going to go back to them, so I recycled them. It was honestly such a relief to get rid of them. I also found a bunch of old work documents. You know the ones you save just in case you might need them later, but they end up just piling up. I had folders full of outdated reports and stuff I haven't touched in years. I shredded them all, bye-bye clutter. Next, I tackled my paper clips and staplers, some of which were broken, others that just didn't work anymore. Why was I holding on to them? I kept the good ones and got rid of the useless ones. Lastly, I went through my files, especially the ones that I hadn't touched in forever. All those documents that were cluttering up my workspace with no real purpose, I tossed them. It felt so good to clear out that space. By the time I finished, I couldn't believe how much I had cleared out. If your desk or workspace is looking a little cluttered, I totally recommend going through your supplies and getting rid of the stuff you don't need anymore. Trust me, it makes a huge difference. Okay, so next up, kids' toys and things. I feel like every parent can relate to this. There's always a moment when you look around and realize your kid's room looks more like a toy warehouse than a bedroom. I've been there, and it was seriously time to start clearing out the old stuff. First, I found myself staring at a pile of toys, most of them broken or missing pieces. There were stuffed animals with half their ears ripped off, toy cars with missing wheels, and dolls that had seen better days. You know the ones I'm talking about, right? The toys that were once loved but are now completely ignored. Instead of holding on to these things just because they once brought joy, I decided to let them go. No reason to keep stuff that's not going to be played with again. Next, I tackled clothes. If you have kids, you know how quickly they grow out of things. One minute they fit perfectly, and the next they're swimming in their clothes. I had piles of old baby clothes that my little one had outgrown. Cute as they were, there's no point in hanging on to them. I mean, if the clothes no longer fit, or they're too worn out to be passed along, it's time to say goodbye. I donated what I could, and anything that was too damaged, I tossed. It was hard to part with some of them, but honestly, it just made sense. Then I came across old school supplies, random broken crayons, pencils with no erasers, notebooks with just a few pages used. It hit me how much of this stuff had just been collecting dust. So I grabbed a trash bag and started chucking everything that wasn't going to be used again. It felt surprisingly good to clear out those little cluttering items. And then there were the old books. Don't get me wrong, I love children's books. But some of them were either too young for my kids now, or they just weren't getting any love anymore. Instead of letting them pile up on the shelf, I passed them on to a friend with younger kids. It felt great knowing they'd get a second life. By the time I was done, I was shocked at how much I had cleared out. It's crazy how much stuff they accumulate and how easy it is to hold on to things for the wrong reasons. If you've got kids, I totally recommend doing a toy and clothes purge every so often. It's so refreshing to reclaim the space and make room for things that actually get used. Next up, decor and gifts. This one was surprisingly eye-opening. We all love to decorate, but sometimes we end up holding on to stuff just because we think we might use it one day, even though we never do. First, I tackled old Christmas decorations. You know the ones that have been in storage for years, and every year you think, maybe this year I'll use them. But let's be honest, you haven't touched them in forever. I had a whole box of ornaments that were either broken or just didn't fit with my style anymore. Out they went. Then there were some St. Patrick's Day decorations. I don't even remember the last time I decorated for that holiday, but there they were unused, sitting in a corner. I don't need decorations I'll never use again, so I let those go too. Next, I found gifts that I had received but never really liked or used. I kept them because, well, they were gifts, but some just didn't match my taste. I passed them on to someone who would appreciate them more. It's hard to let go of gifts sometimes, but holding on to them just for the sake of it doesn't help anyone. Finally, I found decorative candles, the ones that had been burned down or lost their scent. I used to love them, but now they were just taking up space. I tossed the old ones and kept a couple that still had some life in them. Clearing all this out felt like a weight lifted. Next up, I dove into the bathroom stuff, and honestly, this was long overdue. You know how it is, you throw things in the bathroom and forget about them until you're digging around for something else. I found way too many things that were way past their prime. First, I tackled my expired skincare products. You know those moisturizers, serums, and mascara that you keep thinking you'll use again, but never do. I found some face creams that had been sitting there forever and were well past their expiration date. Same goes for the mascara, honestly. I don't even remember when I last used it, and I'm pretty sure it was well beyond its use by time. So those went straight in the trash. Then I went through the medicine cabinet and found a bunch of expired medications, stuff like aspirin and cold medicine that had been in there for ages. I'm sure at some point I thought, oh, I'll need that someday, but nope. Time to say goodbye to all that stuff that's just taking up space and definitely not helping anyone. Next, I realized that my toothbrushes were looking a little sad. I had a few old ones that I hadn't used in months, and a couple that were just so worn out that they weren't doing their job anymore. No reason to keep them, so I tossed them. I also found a blow dryer and curling iron that no longer worked properly. The blow dryer barely blew hot air anymore, and the curling iron was on its last leg. Why was I still holding on to these? Definitely time to let them go. And finally, I went through the shampoo and body wash bottles. A lot of them were half used and way past their expiration date. I didn't need to hold on to the bottles that were never going to get used again, so I recycled them. After all of that, my bathroom felt so much cleaner and less cluttered. It's wild how many things we keep around without realizing they're totally useless. If your bathroom's been feeling a bit crowded, I definitely recommend doing a clean out of all the expired stuff. You'll be amazed at how much more space you have. Now, let's talk about the garage or storage space. This one was a real eye-opener because, like most people, I tend to stash things in the garage and forget about them, out of sight, out of mind, right? But when I actually took a look around, I realized there was so much clutter hiding in there. I started with all the old tools. You know those broken drills, screwdrivers, and old power tools that you keep because you might use them one day. Well, it turns out I hadn't touched them in years. My drill was barely working anymore, and the screwdrivers were all rusty. Why keep them around? So they went straight into the donation pile, or the trash depending on their condition. Then I tackled all the car parts and spare tire accessories that were just taking up space. I found an old spare tire that had been sitting there forever, just collecting dust. Same goes for the tire changing kit. I don't even have a car that needs it anymore. So off they went to recycling. No need to hold on to stuff that's never going to be used again. Next up were the old car accessories. I found random car mats that didn't fit any car I owned, plus a bunch of car cleaning supplies I had collected but never used. Why keep these around? I had no need for them, so they were out the door. Finally, I found old storage bins. Some were broken, others were just too small to hold anything useful. I had been stacking them in corners, hoping they'd serve some purpose. But honestly, they weren't doing anything but taking up space. Time to recycle or donate the ones that could still be useful to someone else. After clearing all that out, the garage felt so much more organized and surprisingly much bigger. If your garage or storage area is full of old, unused items, I highly recommend doing a clean out. You'll free up so much space and feel so much lighter once it's done. Finally, I tackled all the sports equipment, and let me tell you, this one was surprisingly hard because it made me think about all the hobbies I used to love, but just don't have time for anymore. First, I found an old baseball bat. I haven't touched it in years. I remember getting it thinking I'd start playing again, but it's just been sitting in the corner of the garage collecting dust. It was time to let it go. If I'm not going to use it, there's no point in keeping it around. Next, I came across some old soccer and basketballs. They've been lying around deflated and ignored for ages. The last time I played soccer or basketball was... honestly, I can't even remember. So it was definitely time to part with them. Then there was this old tennis racket. I've probably used it a handful of times, and it's just been sitting there taking up space. I haven't played tennis in years, so keeping the racket around was just a reminder of something I don't do anymore. Once I cleared all of that out, the space felt so much cleaner. It was freeing to let go of all the sports equipment I wasn't using, and it made room for things I actually use every day. If you've got old sports gear sitting around, it's time to let go. Trust me, it feels so good. Alright guys, that's it for today's decluttering journey. I hope this inspired you to start clearing out some of your own spaces. It's amazing how much lighter you feel once you let go of all the unnecessary stuff. But don't worry, the fun isn't over. In the next video, we're going to dive into something a little different, a mental reset. I'll be showing you how to organize your mind. Clean out those pantry shelves, tackle those messy bathroom drawers, and even share some easy dinner ideas to make your life a little simpler. It's all about creating a calmer, more organized home inside and out. If you found today's video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Share it with a friend who might need a little decluttering motivation, and subscribe so you won't miss out on the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.